call the Environmental Services meeting to order. Is there any pecuniary interest?
Unknown.
I have none. We have no delegations. Our prior meetings minutes have been approved at the last council meeting. How is our task list? I guess you're in charge of that today.
Yeah, Jay can't be with us today now, so I'll try to cover for him. So the digester project, I can give you a bit of an update on. Jay just sent an email. There's been some emails back and forth between the engineer and the contractor on this plan. They have to seal off a couple of the vessels, and so we're just waiting for approval from the contractor for that. So Jay sent an email yesterday to try and get an update.
So we have had some movement.
There's been some discussions anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not complete.
No.
It's all good.
No. And then the RFP for this is for the servicing study for the village. It's all ready to go. Jay and I just gave our final revisions to the engineer that's putting the RFP together for us. So I would say by the end of the week. So.
And do we know what the timeline is? We
Um,
made a pretty long timeline.
It is.
Responses.
Yeah, the engineer is recommending we put in, I think, for the end of June.
Yeah.
And then he suggests we put in a couple months longer,
Wow.
just so that we don't, not that we won't get it by then,
Yeah.
but if we don't give a couple months longer, we might chase some people
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
So, so I think we're saying we want the proposals in by the end of March, and then do an evaluation right smartly and get the contract awarded early April.
Yeah, and the reason I asked that is I know last time our timeline was a little too tight, so that we revised that,
Yeah.
made it more accessible for people that want to bid on it.
Yep.
Okay. So we'll move to the health and safety inspection sheets. Okay. I didn't see anything there.
No.
Okay, we'll move down to new business, our environmental services monthly report for January 2023.
So if there's any questions, I can try to answer them for you. Or I can, otherwise, we just read through the report. Because all I would be able to do.
Yeah, and I know we're obviously able to read it. Anybody who's on the site can read it as well. So yeah, it seems like the status quo for things.
Pretty much,
staffing
yeah.
And building reports and move to receive and file those two items, the health and safety and the report. The monthly reporting, right?
So moved.
Find my placing it here.
Next up is the review of the 2022 capital projects.
Yep.
Not a lot of them, but let me just bring them up here and I'll share them on the screen. So for the storm stations, we budgeted 35,000, we've spent 26 on catch basin sinkhole. Does he expect more invoices? So that one's done. That's the only one that we had on storm stations. Guess that's the only capital item we had, regular budget.
Yeah.
The only capital item he had in the village budget, so.
Okay. Water budget for January.
So just a small surplus that will be going forward. It'll contribute to a surplus this year. but capital.
Like I'm all done, you know what, they go into that reserve.
Oh, his, right, yes.
So is that a specific capital reserve or is that as just a generic water reserve, so we have something.
No, anything will get divided between donations, emergency. There was 10,000 taken out of the Blue Water dividend that. That's a court thing, so what's the difference back to that reserve? Basically, the emergency reserve, but yes, it's being, it was taken out of a specific reserve.
Yeah, I'm just curious about that. The next item is the 2023 capital budget requests.
Bring that up on.
This is just the storm stations again, right? That's the only.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
So cleaning well reserve, this is the one where we, you know, it's approximately $15,000 to do the work. We try to put $5,000 aside each year and then clean them every third year.
Yeah.
So there's 5,000 in the reserve currently. We didn't put any money in last year. So we're trying to put another 5,000 in this year, and then theoretically we do cleaning next year with another $5,000 contribution from next year.
And that keeps us on schedule for the clean.
It puts us about a year behind.
Okay. Is there any talk about putting Ken in it this year?
He didn't indicate that. He seemed to be happy with it.
Okay.
Felt if we went ahead with this, that would.
And I know it's hard to ask that question without Jay here,
Right.
his expert opinion on how he feels.
No,
where we are.
he didn't push to have more than that put in there, so.
Just want to make sure we're not leaving something that's going to create a bigger problem. down the
Right.
road.
I just got off the phone with him and he did indicate that, you know, next year we need to do it.
Okay, yeah.
It's kind of one of those, if we don't put it in reserve this year, then we need to take 10,000 next year.
Yeah.
To top us up to 15.
Okay.
Then the catch basins and sinkholes, that's an annual number. He knows there's 3 catch basins on Venetian Boulevard already that have to be repaired in the summer months.
Do we have our actuals on that from last year?
Yeah, that's the one that we had about 8,000 left over.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, that's what I thought. Just sometimes they're side by side, so we know.
Right, and the operating, they're that way.
Okay.
Station upgrades, so that's $75,000. We've been trying to put into reserve. We've got 100,000 in that reserve now. And Jay doesn't really know what the overall cost of upgrades to that pumping station are going to be, but they're substantial. And one of the next item, 2 items down, I guess, the $13,000 for repairs to the diesels.
Yeah.
He's actually there's a company coming out tomorrow to look at those diesels and see what try and get a cost of what it might cost to replace them. And he's wondering, they're starting to give us some problems, and getting parts to repair them is such difficult. So he's actually thinking that perhaps we should do that this year. So he would like to leave the 75,000, leave the 13,000, and then determine, after we hear from this company about replacing them, what the cost is going to be. Maybe take that 75,000 instead of putting it in a reserve, put it towards replacing one of the motors.
Yeah.
And then, using the $13,000 to replace it rather than repairs, and then possibly have to take some out of the reserve. That we recommend putting some of the reserve from the casino revenue surplus in that. What was that? Do you remember off the top of your head?
I thought it was 75.
I thought it was 75 too. So last year at capital budget time, we proposed to put money into the Bayview reserve. We didn't. So because we had the $450,000 surplus, we've got a report coming to council at the end of the month, and it recommends splitting that $450,000 between about 4 or 5 different projects. And one of them was to put in reserves for this project as well. So there'll be, if we do that, plus this 75, plus the 100 existing, it'll be about 250,000 in that reserve. So, and again, Jay, I know I have heard him in the past say he would be surprised if there's $1 million worth of work that needs to be done there. Put we'll get an idea what these diesels are gonna cost, and may come back to committee and council later on in the year, approval to do that.
You mean into next year,
No, to do it this year,
to do it this year?
potentially. And take the money, like the money's there already,
Yeah,
right?
okay,
Assuming we put that 75
yeah,
in,
okay. I
we'll
get
have about 250, but he's gotta get a, this company's giving him a price.
it. You said it was gonna be $1 million.
He's thinking the overall
Like the
is a
whole
million.
thing.
He's not sure, like,
Okay.
he's talked about it in the range of
Okay.
$1 million, but
Okay,
he doesn't know for sure. I don't think he's got actual quotes on anything yet, but
so he's not looking for $1 million.
Not-
right now.
not right now, no.
Okay.
Um, Do you recall, Tina, what that 30,000 is?
That's if. Once he gets those done, labor and inspection done, if it's okay, he won't need the 30,000. If they're not good, he'll need it to fix them. And that was his estimate to fix them.
Okay.
He said about 15,000 per side if the inspection's not good.
Okay. So
That's tomorrow.
tomorrow he's having somebody come look into that diesels.
So we'll know
I'm not
if we
sure.
need that 30,000.
We should have a better idea.
Or at least
Yeah.
before
Before
budget
March,
meeting.
Yeah, we won't
Yeah.
know tomorrow, but he'll have a price by budget time.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then Alexander Station, same thing with the cleaning well reserves, same situation. Pipe repair, so we did some repairs to a pipe a few years ago, and they're starting to leak again. They're not at a critical point, but he figures in the range, when this thing does have to get repaired, he figures to fix it properly, it's gonna be in the range of about 150,000. So we'd like to start putting aside money into a reserve for that. He's asking for $25,000 for this year. And then this dormer repair in the top of the building, there are hatches in the top of the building that come off to lift out the pumps. And they've just there's windows in them that are damaged. I think they're leaking whenever it rains, water leaks into the building. He's wanting to insulate and repair those windows, I think put new windows in and just seal the building up a bit. And he's got a quote, actually, he said 7,500. He could lower that from 10,000 to 7,500 based on a quote he just got.
Something came down.
So that is what we have for our Jay's department.
Oh, other than 253.
Right, yeah, but yeah, 250,000 towards the water budget. So what we've proposed, that's part of the $450,000 surplus as well. We've proposed to put 250 of that 450 into the emergency reserve and then take it back out to satisfy that
It's
$250,000.
already included in the revenues too.
That's 250. What else did you say you just gave him?
I believe it was 75 for the Bayview upgrades.
There's not much of surplus left there.
I think we put some of it
Towards Doug's
for the
department.
fire truck,
Okay,
and we put some towards, I think,
Training too, wasn't it? Doug? I have that big.
no, I'm just
I've
curious
got
because
it
it's just,
somewhere too.
I racked it up in my head, it was, a lot of it was gone.
So the recommendation we have is $250,000 towards the water budget, 75,000 and change to the Bayview Storm Station upgrade, 100,000 to the engine truck replacement reserve for the fire department, and $25,000 for a new air pack replacement reserve. So that's in addition, that doesn't have anything to do with this 2023 budget. That's using the casino surplus from the 2022 budget.
Right.
So those are just recommendations.
Right.
The management group sat down together and said,
No.
what are we gonna recommend the council?
No,
do with this
I'm fine with that.
450,000?
Because everybody had a part of the conversation, so.
Now, is that a separate discussion outside of our budget day because it was a previous surplus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There was, like, when we did the budget last year, we budgeted 1.1, we said we'll be conservative and just, you know, we went with 1.1, and the direction given to me at that time was when we figure out if we're gonna have a surplus or not, I have staff come back to council with recommendations on what to do with that surplus. And so this is the result of that. And there may be other like there may or may not be surplus beyond this in the capital. We'll deal with that
This is
separately.
simply about the casino money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus lucky, I mean, I appreciate getting it. 250 to water budget is a lot.
So that's everything with the capital.
Next item, we have village appointed or distribution system 2022 schedule annual summary report. Is that something you just received the file?
Generally, yeah.
It looks very detailed and if someone wants to take time to read it, it's there.
Mhm.
Does that go on our website?
Yes, they do. I don't know if they're there already, but they
Yeah.
do get posted there eventually.
If anybody wanted to look at it, they could look at it at their own leisure. A very detailed document. We'll receive and file that. And then the drinking water systems regulation 70/03 annual report.
Same deal.
Yep, okay, we'll receive and file that. Now that's a laws report that we got from.
No, that's reports
That's
that
the
Jay
Jay
puts
done
together
for
for
us.
our
Okay.
system.
All right, good.
I'm sure laws would have to put
They have
together a
to do their
similar
own.
report.
Yeah, okay.
I believe we get copies of it too.
I just know they are our drinking water supply.
Mhm.
So then we'll move down to our review of financial statements. Was there anything on there that, I know we just kind of dealt with that with our
No, I
small surplus we had the one. Okay. All right, I'll move to receive and file those two. Is there any other new business?
Just from this morning's meeting, can you just remember we wanted to follow up with Jay with the $100,000 issue
yeah, there's a couple of capital things that we need to.
that are related to operations, but they needed to check with Jay. So since he's not here to ask, you can follow up with him on the questions that they have from the operations space. Because there's an overlap in the work,
Yeah, between the.
and they
public
wanted
works and
his
water,
opinion
yeah.
on the plan.
Okay, that looks like everything. Our next meeting is March.
14th.
Oh, my spread reads differently.
Yeah, it does.
I was about to say it because I know it's always the middle of the month and now
Yeah,
it says
It
March
should be the
31st.
14th.
Okay. All right, I'll move for adjournment.